Welcome back to Crafting a Meaningful Life. I'm Mary Crafts, and today, I know I say this every time that I have a show for you, but this time, I really mean it this time. The other times we're just playing, but this one is really the one I want you to listen to. Because on this podcast, I have 3 of my closest heart friends. Even though I just met one of them, I can already tell that she's like my bestie. So let's just start with introductions. Me, Mary Crafts, and then...
Hi, I'm Jess Gunn.
And Jess, what do you do?
I'm just grateful to be here
Okay.
and to be the new bestie. I'll be part of the club. No, I kind of, with all of you, it's just in the same realm of wanting women to realize their strength and their power. And that comes at any age and any position and around the world, because we reach people everywhere. And I just feel like in the stage of life I'm at where I need that little umph from community and from other women of like, you can do these hard things. You're never too late to change. And it starts inside with valuing our own worth. And so I'm excited to talk to you guys because I know we're all kind of on the same page.
We are. That's what brought us like instantly together. Mm-hmm. Tiff.
Hi, loves. Nice to be with all of you again. Here we are. I'm Tiff, or Tiffany Peterson, and I too just love we are on the same frequency where it's about helping people come home to themselves. And through training and coaching and different modalities, that's the work that we're all about.
Wow. Miss Sarah Foley.
Hello. Sarah Foley. I go by Vertical Blonde as well. Some people call me that. And I love just guiding people through their story, going from I can't to icon. It's become my life's mission and having a lot of fun with it. So,
yes, you are. Yeah. So this is why this podcast is totally, I'm going to use the word magnificent, because not very often you get 4 of what I consider the top leaders in coaching and lifting and loving in the same room, let alone talking about the same thing, and for one reason only. It's for you. Because we value you as a person, and we invite you into our world today to kind of help us dissect this next piece that we're going to talk about. So the very first thing I'd like to talk about is the title of this podcast, which is Crafting a Meaningful Life. I love the play on words with my name. But aside from that, I probably would have chosen that topic regardless, because it's kind of what we all do. It's what we do to take the next step. As I started this podcast at age, I think I was 64. Oh my gosh. And that's why I have, 360 podcasts because I've been doing this forever. But I thought, well, what do I want to do next? And if I could help people, help women specifically, take that next step. So if you could, each of you just take some time to ponder that and think, if you were to offer a piece of advice to one of my listeners, what would you say? This is the piece that I feel most drawn to tell you about how to craft your meaningful life.
I'll go first.
I knew you were. Okay. That's why I'm looking this way.
I feel like you're coming on me here. Something that changed my life radically was when I realized I was sort of in co-creation with the circumstances around me, that I didn't have to just do it the way I'd always seen it done. Or like for me, I was in an accident many years ago, and there was this story around how I thought I was supposed to journey through life now with a disability. And there was just this storyline. And I think that happens to us a lot. Circumstances come up and now, that's the way I've seen other people do it this way. So now I guess that's what I should do. And I think everything kind of just like opened up when I realized I can do it any way I want. Like I can do motherhood however I want. I can do divorce however I want. I can do my disability however I want. And it just never really dawned on me until the recent years that I could just like take the storyline and change it. I could be in this, I don't know, I kind of call it like this co-creation with the world around me.
I love that. And for those of you that don't know who are watching, Miss Vertical Blonde here was in an accident and became disabled from the waist down.
Mm-hmm. Rib cage down. Yeah.
Oh, the rib cage down. So including your diaphragm.
Yeah.
How's that work?
It's really hard when I get stuff stuck in my throat because I can't cough because I have no diaphragm muscles. So yeah. So it's tricky, right? And people think that it's just walking that gets affected, but it's everything. It's diaphragm, it's digestion, it's everything. So,
and one of the things I liked what you said, Sarah, was this idea that you could craft your own personal life to how you wanted to do it, not what the world was thinking was important to you. And I've seen that lately in you. I've seen that in your post. That if you could only have from the waist up, damn, the waist up was going to be something else. It's going to be wow, pretty fabulous. And then you decided that wasn't you anymore. And you went with a different look. And then everyone else said, well, you should be doing this. And you went with a different look. And you went with a different approach. You probably one of the greatest examples of walking to what you know to be true for you and not what the world is expecting of you.
Yeah. Thank you.
Wouldn't you agree with
Appreciate
that?
Yeah.
So good.
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. That's just so beautiful.
I love you.
Okay, Tiff.
Yeah. I love that. I think that can I share two that come to my mind? The first one is similar to Sarah's, is just realizing the power of choice. And how we're even having this conversation is we had a whole conversation around permission, right? When we were gathered for brunch. And it was all about that. And I think especially as women, we wait to be picked. We wait to be chosen. We wait for the world. And that's a more reactive way of living versus proactively choosing. I can choose any story I want to create here. I get to choose. And just knowing like all of us are giving you all listening permission to be considering at least, let alone acting upon like what's right for me and what's real for me and what's real for me now. Like the woman I was 5 years ago, let alone 10 years ago. I mean, if you would have told me some of the things that I now believe and choose today, 10 years ago, I would have been like, no way, right? But the power
Amen.
of choice and taking in that permission to be like, I'm the creator or co-creator, but I am the author of my own life story. And I get to consciously choose or craft, what do I want that to be? What's right and true for me, for my path, let alone for this season or where I am now? Because we are evolving, right? Like I look at some of my crunchy Facebook posts from 10 plus years ago that, pops up in memories. And I was like, oh boy, right? Did we write some of these things? So I'd say the first one is permission. Because when you come from permission, you move into ownership. And that's where you really make things happen in your life, is you take ownership to, this is who I'm going to be, and this is what I'm going to be about, and this is what matters to me, from your simple preferences to the big values that you want to be about, right? And so I think coming home to that permission, and then one of my favorite words on the planet, which you guys are not going to be surprised about, and probably one of your favorite words too, is I love the word intention. And it's similar, just other words and costumes we put on the same creative power, where it's like how much intention is about crafting relationships, business, a home. Like what's the intention in your home? What's the intention for this space? What's the intention for this show, right? You clearly have that mapped out. But it's just, I think when we come home to that, when we think about how do I craft a meaningful life, we take first permission and then into ownership. Like I get to drive this bus. I get to make choices. You choose yourself and choose what you desire. And then playing into intention of like, now that you start getting more clear, it's like, how do I want to show up and what's aligned for me? So that's, for me, the beginning at least, or middle and all of this conversation is those core principles.
I love that. In fact, even sitting here right now, I had a big aha moment just listening to you. When you said, permission, well, that's my word for the year, as is Sarah's, and we know that. And I thought, oh, yeah, I did that. But when you were talking, I thought about how long I sat from retirement at 65 to 71, 6 years, waiting for someone to give me permission to do what I'm doing right now. And I kept thinking, now, if you make this beautiful little space for me, the world, I'll step into it. And I was waiting for that. I was waiting for someone to give me permission to make my space for me to step in. And finally, just before Christmas this year, I decided, damn, I'm going to make my own space. I stepped right into it.
Yeah, you did.
And
then we had this magical lunch, and it was like,
okay, so let's
Here
talk
we go.
about the brunch before you go, Jess. So we had this brunch.
the brunch.
And the brunch, and the four of us were there. And it was the first time I met you. But of course, instantly, like, oh, she's my sister.
Same energy.
Yeah. Oh, it was. And then when we talked about, well, so I just stepped into this thing about being kind of a health and wellness and fitness coach for people over 60. And then to find out, though, that's what you do. And I was like, so immediately I had a choice. I could go to we're working in the same space, and maybe, I don't know. She's obviously very good, and I'll play smaller than right here. I had a choice just to step into your space and your energy. And women, if we've learned anything from the four of us who all work in this area of lifting women, all of us sitting right here, and yet we're not threatened by each other. By having you
Not
in
at
the
all.
space doesn't make less space for me. In fact, it makes more space for me, because that means like I'm not the only one and people are laughing at me. There are so many of us. And to be able to say, I am one of these goddesses, oh my gosh, that's like an incredible space to live in. So not to be threatened by other people, but to just relish in the gifts that we give it to each other. So that brunch was pretty powerful, and that's why we're happen to be sitting here. So there you go. All right, Jess.
Well, just on that comment, I've had the same thought running into women that, they have millions of followers, or their app is bigger, or they've reached more people. And it's a choice. And then I realize I'm just grateful to be surrounded with women in the same industry, because we get it. We get how hard it is. We get the issues we deal with, the same women all across the world, same age, different ages. We all have the same things that we're dealing with. And so I love that I feel empowered, surrounded by other women, helping in the same sphere, because it makes me better.
Yeah.
And it gives me that power of like, you don't feel alone, because all of us are trying to help, and we all reach different people just a little bit.
And I'm not going to be able to reach everyone. You're not going to reach everyone. You're not going to reach everyone. We need an army of women who are empowered to step in and give safe space.
Well, and
That's the concept that helps me whenever I get stuck there. Is like, well, even if I wanted to, I couldn't do this by myself.
Yeah.
Like I couldn't reach everybody. Like, and everyone needs someone a little different.
Yep.
Some people are going to be really like bugged by the way I teach. Some people might really love it. Some people are going to be like, no, you're not for me. So I think we need more. And I think we need more people to step into their.
Well, and even just listening to us, like when you ask us these questions, you went, and I was like, oh, that's something I feel like I focus on. You can shift your story. And I was like, that's great. But I view it differently. And I love that even there. And then with what you said, I was like, the joy of going last. I was like, yeah, that's great. Like that's the same thing. But I love that the same topic we can all, it's because of our own life experiences, and we relate to so many different people. And I feel like that is what brings us together. Because the piece, I was thinking as I listened to both of you, and we're all very like-minded, it's similar, is I just want women to realize that they're enough, because I didn't feel that way, that they are worthy and they can change. I was stay-at-home mom of 4 kids, and you kind of lose yourself. And it's not a bad thing, because I love these children, and it's like what I've wanted to do. But, my baby went to school, and it's like, I don't even know who I am. Like, what do you do, right? This identity crisis, because you just please and take care of people. And that was my role. And that's where I felt like the hole, because when that wasn't fulfilled anymore, because they're independent and they're on their own, they're doing these things, and now they're teenagers in their 20s. And it's like, well, then who am I, right? Like, if I'm not needed as a mom. And that's when I realized I've got some things I need to work through. And so any way that I can empower women to take time for themselves, right? To believe, because the story I always share is a few years ago, before I started choosing myself, taking time for myself, like my health and what makes me show up better, because you feel selfish, right? It's
Oh,
just like the natural thing,
absolutely.
like time and money.
Yeah.
And I pay for my kids' sports activities, but I can't take the time to help me be better. And I was so cranky and irritable. Mom guilt was terrible. And I'm snapping at my younger daughter for absolutely no reason, right? Really ridiculous. And I realized in that moment she looked up at me and was just like, Mom, like, what did I do this time? And I realized, oh my gosh, like I kept trying to find inner peace and worth by the scale. It was always like, if I got skinnier, I'd be happier. If I weighed less, I'll get back to being happier. That's what I thought it would be. And then look on her face, I realized she's never going to remember how skinny I was. It's not like they're going to be at family reunions and be like, oh my gosh, remember Mom weighed 145 pounds? Like, that was awesome, right? She was such a great mom. No one, like, could you guys ever guess my weight? Like, none of us care. But it was what I thought was happiness. And when I looked at her, I was like, she's going to remember how I make her feel. And I was like, in this moment, this is what she's going to remember. Hey, Mom was tired. Mom was yelling, because this is what we talk about. And that terrified me. And I thought, I have to shift, like, everything, because then it's like, okay, I've got to change myself to be able to, so that she feels better, she feels safe, she feels of value. And then I thought, oh my gosh, like, yes, am I concerned about how I'm talking to her? Absolutely. But how do I talk to myself? Right? And that was the reflections in my own head. I wasn't worthy. I was this. The story, kind of what you said, we tell ourselves these stories and we believe those, and then it then goes to our bodies, and we hate how our bodies look, and you don't like how you look in the mirror and you don't like who you see. And so we've got to start. It's not the macros. It's not what workout should I do. It's not even necessarily your why. All are important tools, but it's about your worth, not even the why or the workouts. It's starting with that innate value.
Yeah. So let's talk about that for just a minute. I think we all agree on this, but we may not, and that'll come out. So, but if you were to look at not just women, but humankind in general, is there a common denominator that is woven between all of us that is like the intuitive piece that we all deal with, that we all are sent here to understand deeper? Is there one thing? And let's narrow it down to women, because we can't really speak for them. And I've had a penis, but I'm just saying that I can say that.
Not
it's my
today.
podcast. It's my podcast. I can say that word.
Yeah.
But I can speak to a woman. And is there something that you think binds us together?
I think we have a lot in common, more than we don't have in common, right? As a humanness, right? But it's like the need to feel like, gosh, do I matter? Am I worthy? To your point, I think every woman asks that question, and often it's not even a conscious question, but am I enough in some way? Am I a good enough mom? Am I organized enough, smart enough, rich enough, thin enough, kind enough, confident enough, but humble enough? I mean, we have this unique thing with women, and that's a whole conversation too. It's like, hey, go be confident, but now you're too confident and you're shining too bright, so could you tone it down? And you have that whole thing going on. But I think as a human, it's like we all want to feel like I matter, we do things or work that matters, right? We want to feel connection and like, part of that. So I think we have a lot in common. There's just different ways we might be expressing that.
Mm-hmm. When I think about this, I do think we have something that's woven in us all. And in the 500, 600,000 people that I've met in my life, most of them women, I have found something that I think is woven in all of us. And it is a ton of things on the positive side. Mm-hmm. But there is one central thing on the side that is our struggle, and you sparked right to it, is that at some time, every single woman feels not enough.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, I love even your realness about a few weeks ago when we met for brunch, and how meeting Jess brought up for you, and then we talked through it, that you were like, oh, she's already so farther down the path. She's the real deal.
I better not do this.
I better, and the temptation to shrink back, right? Like,
because I'm not enough.
Because I'm not enough. Like, this is the lesson we're all going to apply.
10?
11.
5'11". And like, I looked at her Instagram immediately while we were sitting at brunch like this. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, she's freaking hot and toned, but so are all of you. And
Yeah.
but I think the point isn't if you will have those thoughts, you will. It's how we choose to navigate them.
Bing, bing.
Yeah.
Because every woman will have the thought at every age. Because even me, with all the coaching and all the work I've done, I mean, I think my younger self thought, well, once I do all this coaching,
Oh, yeah.
I'm going to be healed of this
Right?
shiz. Right? Like, I said shiz, by the way. And so just, we don't have to even edit that. But it's like you think, oh, I'm going to be over this stuff. I'm going to be through it because I've healed it once. But I think life is more cyclical than linear. And we still touch those same lessons, which without even knowing all the circumstances, you can just know, like, Tiff's working through her own worth.
Yep.
And you can know that about every woman you meet, or even man. Women, we just maybe talk about it maybe more openly.
Yeah.
But everyone to some extent is like in some degree of a version of, am I enough?
Yeah.
We're all
You
working
were
on
with me when I got back from Kilimanjaro. You were at that party. Did you ever think that there would be a piece of me again that never felt
No.
enough?
Because
Never.
it's like, oh,
Well,
she's conquered.
Yeah, that's 5 years ago. And,
What's
2 weeks
fresh?
ago, I felt like this. So, but I think it's recognizing it sooner, what it is, rather than going into the dark spot.
Well, it's self-awareness, right? Like when it comes up, it's being able to ask ourselves, like, well, what am I going to do with it? And I mean, I think there's also something to be said. I don't know, this works for me anyways, that I noticed there were a couple people doing very similar things than me. And every time I would see their posts maybe come up, it would really rattle me. It would rattle me. But then on the other hand, there were some that were doing similar things that I'd be so inspired and be like, wait a minute, if they can do it, I can do it, right? And so it's, for me, something that's really helped was I had to go through and I muted the ones that didn't make me feel good, right? There was just something that like, it wasn't resonating, it wasn't landing, and it was hurting versus helping me along. And then I just turned up the volume on the other ones that were really inspiring me, or, trying to get into different rooms that actually inspired me. But it's okay if we have to mute some of the ones that aren't making us feel good or not, inspired.
Yeah.
It is okay
Yeah.
to turn it off rather than just looking at it every day.
Yeah. And it just
I'm less than.
yeah. And I
Turn it off.
you got to face it too, of like, what needs to be addressed so that I don't feel less than, or what is it that's really hurting. But
I think it's natural because I had an experience a few years ago. This is probably 10 years ago, with a really good friend. Like, we were best friends. We did everything together. And there were lots of things I loved about her because she was so much better at me than a lot of areas. We just kind of balanced each other out. And she kind of distanced herself. I'm sure as women, we've had that happen. And it's like, what did I do? You overanalyze it. You ask. It's nothing. And I'm like, something is different, right? Finally got out of her. I appreciated her honesty finally. And she just said, I don't feel comfortable being around you because I'm not as good at you at this, this, or this. And so every time I leave you, I feel bad about myself. So it's easier just not to be around you. And I was floored because the irony was, and I said to her, do you know why I wanted, like, I chose you out of that whole room to kind of buddy up with and then ask to go to lunch next week? Is because you are phenomenal at all the things I suck at. Everything I suck at. You are so good with your kids. You're like the mom that does the puzzles and the playtime and creativity. And I don't do that as much. You have every meal ready and baked bread. And it's like, I'm horrible. I hate all that stuff.
Next thing you're going to tell me she made pie.
Yes, and desserts, everything. In my mind, she was so good at, like, it was natural and homework and everything. And I was like this chaotic mess running around. And I said, I love that about you, because when I meet people, like, I'm drawn to people that are better than me. And it was such a contrast. And I said, like, so we talked about it for a bit, and she's like, I can't do it. Like, I see what you're saying, but it's too hard to be around. Even though I pointed out all of the things that I literally loved, that she was so much better at me, she couldn't see it. There was like 2 or 3 things that she was like, well, this or this. And like, but those aren't even a big deal. And so it was really eye-opening to me of how we view others. And I don't know why. I've just always gravitated toward people that, because it's a choice, right? We can choice, because there's people I look and I was like, oh, especially in the fitness industry, better looking, better knowledge, skinnier, bigger abs, bigger falling, right? It's very overwhelming. So a couple years when I got in it, it was just like, it's a choice, right? And it was just like, I have to choose to mute. I love how you said that, turn up or down the volume, because it's everywhere. And then with those that I feel like have the same energy and I could grow from, I gravitate to people that are better than me. And so anytime
Yeah.
I'm in a room,
Yeah.
like I'm always trying to get in the room and above all that are better. Like I'd love to speak. And I love that I've got all these women that are amazing at speaking, because that's somewhere I would like to end up. I want to do a podcast. Like, so you surround yourself by people that are empowered and confident and that are good at those things.
That lift and build you.
Oh, 100%. So I love being the worst or the ugliest or the dumbest or whatever terms, right, out of a whole group, because then that gives me so much growth, and I know I can learn from them. And so if we can choose to, and it's practice. I had to work on that for a while, but every time I walk in a room, it's like, this is amazing. They've all done so many things. Like there's so much I can learn from, and then hopefully give back.
Yeah. Yeah. I just so many great thoughts from all of you on that. For me, and so you can all take heart, and you can all take heart, that it doesn't just end when you say, I'm never going to feel that way again. I'm going to be like those women, and I'm never going to be threatened by anyone again. It circles back, it spirals back, and now I catch it much quicker. And I was catching it. I liked that I was catching it. And then either moving past that or making a conscious decision. But there's something, and I'm trying to put my finger on, but there's something recently that's happened that's different to me. And it's like when I see people now, for the first time in my life, I'm not going first to the I'm less than spot. And I think it's because I'm seeing them differently, which has then allowed me to be more comfortable. And just as you look at them, if you can take a breath to look past the facade, into your eyes, see your intent, and to see that you're just in the same place as me, and we're walking together. And you have no intent to hurt me. I don't need to be afraid. And in fact, I can provide safe space for you. And just this shift in me of wanting to provide this space for everyone to step into. That ripple effect, I'm never going to touch everyone. But if all of us gather stones and just start chucking them into the pond, that ripple effect, we're going to be able to reach a lot of people. And I'm taking hope that other people around the world are also throwing their rocks in, and that ripple effect. I really believe that, if I live to be 105, so then I have 34 years left. That's good. I want to change. I want the needle to move. So what piece of the needle do you see your life personally moving between now and when you move to a different part of your existence? What piece are you going to move? Now you've got it, Tiff. What is it?
Well, I just love how rich this whole conversation is, because I think that, based on what's been being shared, it's this element of, I just think the question I want to ask myself more is how I can show up for myself and how I get to show up that way. Because one of my mentors years ago would say this: it can't trigger you unless it lives inside of you. And so when other people are triggering you online or other rooms, that doesn't mean, though, there are times where you also have clarity, like that person's maybe not my cup of tea, but I don't wish them ill or will, like the negative, but it's triggering you. And so it's like, it lives inside of me, or it couldn't trigger me. And so when I'm getting triggered, and it's always back in this worth, am I seen? Am I loved? Or I felt dismissed, or I wasn't included, or this thing came up, or that thing, or whatever. And it's like, my needle mover is just, I think for me, it's to close the gap faster, like you're saying. Isn't that we get triggered. We're not wrong for that. Right. Yeah. But I want to close the gap faster to come back to love for myself, love for others, and just that awareness. But it is a practice. And I think that's what matters, that we normalize, is because, and hopefully this whole conversation is normalizing that no matter our age or expertise or background or how fit we are, you still have the self-doubt come up. You still have the moments of second guessing or judging your body or judging yourself. Like the things still happen. It's just, can I close the window of how quickly I come back to truth and light and back to like, enough, I've got you. I had this big awareness a few years ago in a personal relationship of mine that had caused me a lot of pain. And not that that person meant to intentionally cause me pain, but just this experience was what it was. And I remember having this awareness that it was like, look, no matter who was in this role in your life, the significant family role, you would still get to learn this life path of how do you love yourself. So no matter what your childhood was, no matter who your parents were or your upbringing, do those environments matter? Of course. Or your friend or your husband or ex-husband or ex-friend, best friend, whatever. It's like, but in my case, this was a family member, a parent in my life where I just was like back and forth, and I was like, all right, finally, and I surrendered to it. I'm like, what's this here to teach me? And it's like, well, to love yourself. But then the bigger clarity was no matter who was going to be in these positions, you'd still get to learn this lesson. Because sometimes we think, well, if that person just had been different, or if that whole group of people would be different, then I'll be happy. And it's just BS. Is you're still going to get to learn how to show up for yourself. So again, my needle mover, because this is still fresh work, guys. Like, I'll just be so transparent that that's still the fresh work at times of like, when your feelings and your things and da-da-da. And it's like, I've got you. I see you. I show up for you. What's true about you and what's true for them too. But it's to close the loop faster versus thinking you're going to ever be over it fully. Now, some things don't have the same snag on me as they used to. You can progress certain things, just like you can build certain muscle mass and muscle memory physically. We can do that emotionally. But I think expecting that you'll never, ever be triggered again or feel the not enough or am I loved, am I wanted, included, belonging needs, they're going to keep coming up for all of us.
The synapse gets faster in the brain.
Yeah, that.
Instead of like staying stuck in that spot for like a day. Or I can remember when I stayed there for a week. You know, I'm not a depressive person, but sometimes it would lag on me. But now I can process through that pretty quick. What's your needle? Well, what piece are you moving before your time as this influencer ends?
Well, the thing that came to mind, there's, I think it's become probably my very favorite word. It's a Hawaiian word, and it's kuleana. And our kuleana is our responsibility on this earth to be, basically to fulfill our greatest potential, right? It's for me to be my greatest potential. But the caveat to this word is that you have to do it for your own benefit first, and then that's able to trickle over to others and then the world. So like, I can't teach anything to anybody else that I'm not actively living the results of, that I've learned it. Yeah. Right. And so I think so often people want to go out and they want to change the world, but they're not doing anything to make those changes inside of them. And so when I think about my kuleana, like, it puts me in check a lot of like, you know, am I giving advice that I'm not giving to myself? Am I trying to, because we all know those people where we're like, dude, you don't even believe what's coming out of your mouth right now. And so, and then they lose credibility. We lose respect for them. And then it doesn't have any weight to it. And so it just helps me to really keep me in check. And I do this a lot as a mom, where it's like, I can only be a great mom if I'm being great to myself. I can only teach him what I am actively living myself. I can't teach him any lessons unless I'm living them. So I love kuleana. I love asking myself, what is my kuleana? I know that I'm leaning into it. I know that I'm using my talents for good. I know that I'm using my lessons for a bigger purpose. But at the end of the day, like, I had to go through and, you know, kind of to what you were saying there, Tiff, it's like, I got to learn it all for myself first. And only then can it ripple over to other people.
Yeah.
Only then can I actually have any kind of chance to change the world.
Okay. I
That's
love that.
powerful.
Wow,
It
right?
really is.
I love that word. I just think it's beautiful.
Feels like alignment, you know?
And that it's our God-given responsibility to do it.
And you know when that just slips into alignment and there's just peace. What are you changing? How are you going to move the needle?
I think it's helping women. We need to give ourselves grace. You know, and it's like what you said just a second ago is situations change us. You know, we can be on the top of the world and confident and feeling like, hey, I've got this and I can walk in a room and be okay. And then you have things that happen and you're like, I'm not okay today. And I feel like going back to permission, we don't give ourselves enough permission to say, like, I'm not okay today. But that's okay. And it's not going to be forever. But like, the all or nothing, the perfectionist, right? I get that from clients all the time. I've struggled with it. And it's just living up to the bar we give ourselves, not even comparing ourselves to anybody else, just my own idea of what I should be able to do and where I should be. I should be farther along, you know, all of these things that go through your head, and just give yourself grace that certain times of life, you're going to only be able to do so much. And going through divorce, like we've mentioned, it's just like that derailed me. And I felt super confident. Things were going great and happy. And I'm bawling in the car every other day, going back and forth to the gym. You know, it's just like those things happen. And I have to give myself grace that nothing's going to flourish the same until I'm okay inside, which goes back to like literally everything you guys are saying and finding that inner peace. I love how you say coming home to you. And because I had to find that again. You know, I'm now single, and it's like a single mom, and it's, I had to give myself grace to say I'm not going to be able to do as much. I won't accomplish as much. I might not even show up as good of a mom, right? All the things. I can't show up as much. But you do the best that you can every day, and just give yourself grace with what you can't do.
So powerful. I hope you guys are loving this as much as I am. You know, if I think about one thing that I'm going to move the needle for, I have such a burning inside of me, such a desire for women to walk the path I've walked, to see themselves as they truly are. If I can give that gift to the world, and of course I can only give it as fast as I see it and I gain it, but I know all of us speak on stage, and afterwards you can all relate when I say this. Afterwards, when people come up and they're like, "Oh, you were so wonderful. I wish I was like you. I just hope so." And you're just, and I love this part. And they do this kind of gushy thing. And like, you know, we're like, man. But I have found that's my moment. That's my moment to step into how I'm moving the needle. When they're right there in front of me, one-on-one, and they're saying that about me, and I can take a hold of their shoulders and look them in the eye and pull them and say, "Did you know that the only reason you see it in me is because it lives in you? If it wasn't already in you, you wouldn't see it in me?" And of course, what you suggested, Tiff, the opposite is true. If people only see me as, the show-off narcissist, well, that's because that's what's inside of them. You know what I mean? It's not like that I am something, you know, horrible. It's that they see me through their lens. And they see, you know, self stuck on herself, love to be in front of people, blah, blah. Like, oh, I'm sorry that that's inside of you. And is there any piece that's good in me that you can see? Because then that's the piece you can grow on. And that's the piece that you can live for. And I may never speak on a stage of 20,000, but I'm okay with that. Because that one-on-one moment where they look me in the eye and they know it, that what I'm saying is true.
It's powerful.
So
That's
good.
how I'm
So
moving the needle
powerful.
one at a time. Well, ladies, fabulous women of my heart, our time is up.
I knew it was
That's
gonna
like
go
so
by
fast. And like
way
that
too
was like
fast.
3-second long podcast, by the
Oh
way.
my gosh, it's been long.
Because there's so much richness
There's so much
here.
to talk. Okay, so if it's okay with you guys, I would love to have them back. And let's do this again, because we like, here's the depth of what they have all the way to the center of the earth. And what we scratched was like, ding. And I just need you to come back and to spend time with me again and let me learn from you.
Done.
Yes,
I knew
yes.
it.
Thank
I
you
think
for
I
bringing us
called
all
it in
together.
the beginning. There would be a part 2. I'm just going to
4,
say I did
5.
call that before we
The
started.
sequel.
So if you got anything from this is what it is. And if you heard this, what we're saying is we see you. We see you like we see us. We see us together in one. And we believe in you. Sometimes we lose faith in ourselves, but we come right back to it, just like we come back to you. And until next week, be about crafting your meaningful life. Namaste.
Crafting a Meaningful Life.